Aaron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Hello, welcome to the show. Happy Thursday, all. 204-780-6868. Shoot us a text. So we're brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. VIP take on the text line and win a VIP car washer. My good friends at Wash Method will announce the winner later in the program. As we're coming at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio for gourmet pizza and pasta. Bring the team to Boston Pizza. Still to come on the show, the hockey news is Carter Brooks is going to be joining us. We'll talk a little bit of Jets off season and what it would take or what you would be willing to give up to acquire Mason McTavish from the Anaheim Ducks, who reportedly is not happy in Anaheim and could be looking at a potential change in scenery.
Which is ironic because it's the happiest place on earth.
That's what they tell me.
About like Disneyland.
I'm more of a Disney World person. I've never been to I've been to Disneyland.
Oh, that's right. You always educate me on this.
They're different places, Jim.
I've been to Anaheim Disney. It's land or world? Land. I've been to the land.
It's the OG.
You've seen the world.
I've seen the whole world. Been to Epcot.
By the way,
you don't need to see
Disneyland-
you don't need to go anywhere. All you need to do is go to Orlando, go to Epcot, go to Norway, go to Mexico. You can even visit Canada.
By the way,
You can revisit Canada when you're at Epcot.
I didn't find it the happiest place on earth.
So
I was
it's a lot
happy.
of miserable parents watching money fly out of their pockets.
There was some things that I saw that I'm like, this is not happiness. But a lot of it was. Some of it was happy.
Some of it was happy. It's just when you see the visa bill at the end of it.
The visa bill, the screaming kids, the spoiledness, the heat.
The heat.
The parents' stress.
The heat, yes. The lines, the impatience.
I had a good time.
Yeah, I had fun. I love Disney World. A former Winnipeg Jet defenseman has also announced his retirement, and the Winnipeg Jets digital content crew giving a little bit of a nod, a little bit of appreciation, some honor. We'll talk about that before the show is up. We'll be sure to squeeze all that in. But the ruling is not yet official. There's more and more coming down. It's being updated. And when the actual decision has been released, we'll bring it to you live right here on the show. If it does come during the show or if it comes during the Jim Toth show, I'm certain he'll also do the bringing the breaking news to you here. But this seems to be trending in one direction here. An Ontario judge is delivering her ruling today in the sexual assault trial of 5 former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey Team. Let me just read this and then we'll get into it. Saying she did not find the complainant's testimony to be credible. The Superior Court Justice said the court cannot meet its onus of proof for the charges in the case. She is still reading the reasons for her decision and hasn't officially ruled on the charges against each player. Michael McLeod, Carter Hart, Alex Formanton, Dylan Dubé, and Callan Foote have all pleaded not guilty to sexual assault in an encounter that took place in an London, Ontario hotel room in the early hours of June 19th, 2018. McLeod, over 7 years ago, McLeod has also pleaded not guilty to a separate count of being a party to the offense, an unusual application of a charge that is more typically seen in murder cases. But in this case, it was levied against McLeod. And of course, they pled not guilty. If you've been following this story as much as I have, and I know you have too, Jim, I didn't have a lot of confidence in that anybody was going to be found guilty. I certainly felt that some members, some of these 5 players had a higher likelihood, if there was going to be anything laid, that they would be that they would have a higher chance of it. But assessing this sort of situation, Jim, with conflicting accounts and evidence when it comes to sexual assault cases like this, these decisions are so challenging. And the question is, when we look at this, and again, when the ruling is official, we'll bring it to you, is how do we properly assess something like this, right? So when each individual is saying something different, these trials, they seem to hinge on the interpretation of consent, right? Memory, trauma responses, which are all very complex. These are all deeply personal. So how do you, in a court system, assess something like that properly when it is such a wide range when it comes to each individual, right? And particularly in this case. So I also think it's important to note that while the ruling can be seen as legally justified based on the evidence that's been presented and the testimony from the individual EM, the complainant, who the judges deemed not credible, I don't think it diminishes sort of the broader issue here as well of consent and culture and all that. But this is a really challenging thing. This is really, really difficult. And I hope that this brings change into how these things are approached. But I don't know how you can properly assess something like this when there's such a wide range of trauma responses, memory, all that type of stuff. It's complex and it's so personal. This is a real tough one, Jim. This is a real tough one.
Well, it's not easy, and it's not a fun conversation, and I don't think there's any winners here, whatever the decision is today. And as you said, it's trending towards acquittals for all five. But I don't think, and I don't know any of the players involved. I've never even interviewed or talked to any of them. I don't think there's any winners here.
Yeah, I agree with
think
that.
This is a horrible situation. I think I don't want to call it the positive out of such a negative situation, but we have to grow from this. We have to get to a point where we understand that these things don't take place anymore. I have a consent person coming on that I had on when this trial started at 1:15 today, and she delved into consent in the form of, if there's a sexual activity going on for 20 minutes, it is possible that there's 2 minutes of that 20 separate, maybe one at minute 8 and one at minute 17 that aren't consensual. And you have to abide by that. That's the law, and I think that's a perfect law for consent. Consent has to be continuous and without exception. Mm-hmm. But how do you prove that?
That's the whole. That's the issue here.
So I think in the testimony, what's come out to me is, like, Cam, there's been some times I go, okay, well, this is, I see the victim's side of this, and this isn't right. And then there's been times where I see the defendants and what they're saying, and this, and it all adds up to, at the end of the day, I feel terrible about it. I really don't judge a lot of people on what they do behind closed doors as long as it's consensual. I know a lot of people do, and a lot of people go, this is that. I really try to keep an open mind, but I think this is horrible. I think this is horrible that this took place. It's my own personal values that everyone in that room, and so then I go to the bigger picture of it, Cam, regardless of the result today, and I've had a lot of discussions with my 13-year-old about this.
Yeah.
I don't want you just to be the guy who doesn't go to the room. I don't want you just to be the guy who goes to the room and goes, this is wrong and I'm leaving. I would like you to be the guy that goes, are you okay? Now, whether that happens in a situation like this or not, I don't know, because I was 15, 16, 17. I was fortunate enough to go on and play really low-level college soccer. I've been on teams throughout my teenage years and throughout my early adulthood. And you throw in alcohol and all this. I think what needs to come out of this big picture is we have to listen to the victim, and you have to take her for her word and have these kinds of trials. I also don't want to condemn anybody, and it sounds like nobody's going to be convicted of anything. So, but that being said, we need to grow from this. We need to get to a better place where these situations only happen if consensual, and then most of them don't happen at all. So I don't know what more to make of that. This is just my own personal feeling. Yeah. There are laws in this, but I just feel, I'm down. I feel sad about this.
Well, I've read all the details and stuff like that, and you know, the complainant, you know, was a lot of her testimony and what she was pushing forward was hinged on the fact that she was just really, really drunk. And the judge comes out and said, well, you know, in those 2 videos that was taken, you know, you didn't appear to be drunk. You appeared to be coherent. Regardless,
there's some pretty damning testimony both ways, right? There's some testimony about something she said I didn't want. Yeah. Especially the hard slap on the buttocks. There's some other testimony that says like she was asking questions and
yeah,
and that.
I mean, it's regardless, Jim. This is like,
but I also understand, Cam, if a female gets into a situation like that, it's tough to make proper decisions.
What happened in that room was reprehensible, regardless
I agree.
if there's anything criminal or anything criminal happened, which it seems like there isn't going to be. What happened in that room was reprehensible. And everybody, not just these five everybody who was in that room, I think in some cases, they should be humiliated and they should be embarrassed about what happened.
Everybody should be, yeah.
Everybody should be embarrassed. And the fact that this has had to get to this point.
And there's a lot of people that are going to go.
Hockey Canada for attempting to push this away using funds from, kids hockey to put a hush on this.
Ridiculous,
like there's this, again, if something you hope that this causes change. And if there's something that you can be taken away from this, is that this kind of conduct is unacceptable. And it will get to this point. It will escalate to something like this. And maybe, and it should. It should go to a court of law. Regardless, I mean,
this is what I hope comes from it, Cam, is even the testimony from the players that weren't charged kept saying I felt uncomfortable, so I left, or I didn't like.
They were going up for food.
I didn't know what was. Yeah, I thought it was food. I thought
whatever.
all this.
Yeah,
my point I'm trying to make is: did anybody go, "Hey, are you okay?" Like I felt uncomfortable. I left. Yeah. It wasn't my scene, so I left, or I didn't want. Did anybody go, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And that's where we got to get to a better place. We got to get to a better place where we just care more about each other.
Yeah.
And don't treat each other like garbage.
Yep.
And whether you're 17 or 18, and I can't imagine what it's like to be a kid right now because there's so much stuff available online and on video that just isn't reality, right? Like just isn't a way to treat each other. So again, this is going on and on. We'll wait for the decision. It doesn't sound like there'll be any convictions. Hockey-wise, that's the next discussion that's already coming out, is will any of these gentlemen play again in the National Hockey League?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. We'll see what the decision is. But at the end of the day, there's no winners here. And I just hope that this is a great example for parents and young people to just sort of move forward in a way of let's not get to a point where we have to go to trial over this stuff and treat each other better.
Yeah, it's a tough topic.
Have some respect for yourselves and each other.
Let's take a break. Let's come back. On the other side, the Winnipeg Jets digital crew getting a little tip of the hat. I'll tell you what that is when we come back.
With Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Call the Boston Pizza Jets and Noon hotline, open 24/7, 204-780-6800. Coming for lunch every weekday to Boston Pizza. Get a delicious main side and ice cold drink for only $15, only at BP. The number one caller will be awarded a $50 gift card to Boston Pizza on Friday, which is tomorrow. This show, we don't like to hand out too many beefs, but let's hand out a bouquet to Jets digital content crew. Adam Kruger heads up the content division with the team that includes Tyler Esquivel, Cameron Penny, Carter Normand, Luke Vink, and Hunter Hebert. They won the Stanley in Seattle for NHL Social Media Club of the Year. Congratulations, guys. Appreciate it. Good job. Good job, team. Way to go, a Stanley. And I learned about the Stanleys. I had no idea that this was even going on.
I knew that these meetings happen. I know that every team has to send their communications department and social media, and they have meetings on the NHL and how the season went, what they'd like to do, and how. Yeah. I didn't know there was an award, so this is awesome. And I'm working on getting somebody on tomorrow from the Jets to talk about this. But congratulations, they won an award for all 32 teams. They were the best.
There you go. There you go. Carter Brooks, Jets reporter. Hey, we'll talk. He just got some information on the arbitration date set for Winnipeg's Dylan Samberg. We'll talk to Carter Brooks about that when we return. Jets at Noon brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. VIP take on the text line to win a VIP car wash from our good friends at Wash Method, 204-780-6868. We'll announce the winner later in the program, which is coming at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio for gourmet pizza and pasta. Download the podcast, but also bring the team to Boston Pizza. Download the podcast free now on Apple, Spotify, face-to-face on YouTube. Find us on YouTube as well, wherever you find your favorite podcasts, with plenty of memorable Jets Talk episodes and special content exclusively found there. So you can take Jets at Noon wherever you go, where we discuss with Tyson Rewicki, producer Tyson Rewicki, about the NHL draft.
Putting it up a year to 19.
Going up to 19. Interesting topic. You want to hear our takes on that? Download the podcast. Happy to welcome on to the show the Hockey News' Carter Brooks. Hey, Carter, how are you? Thanks for coming back on the show.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. Good to have you. Thanks, pal. You had
having me.
You just put out a piece on the arbitration date for Dylan Samberg. Or should Jets fans be nervous?
You know what? I really think that they will get something done before we hit that July 30th date. It's a little scary to think that you see a guy like Dylan Samberg go to arbitration, knowing what happens in those hearings. But I think Chevy and Co. will get the job done. So I wouldn't be sitting on pins and needles, but there is a little bit of worry there, but not too much.
What do you think this contract's going to look like?
Boy, you could go two ways with this one. What I think might happen is you get this simple 2 or 3 year bridge deal. Right now, Samberg is at that point in his career where he is blossoming into a reliable top pair guy. And I'm saying it, top pair, not top four. This guy could be your top 1, top 2 guy alongside JMO for the future. Whether or not they see him in that way, looking at Dylan Samberg's trajectory, he is there with the very best when it comes to plus minus. He shuts your opponents down from the inside out, and that's the kind of role they want him to fit for the coming future. He stepped it up offensively too last year. So I could see this being a 2 or 3 year deal at maybe $6.5 million. Okay, you're going to get a big raise from the 1.4 you had last year to a big jump in production. Show us what you got. We'll sign you long-term after that. Or they could say, hey, we're going to take a gamble and lock in something like we saw from a guy like Gabe Vilardi this past week. There very well could be the idea of going longer term with Samberg off the bat if the price is right, if the agency is right, if everyone seems to see those stars align. And with a local guy or somewhat local from just the northern states, right, you kind of see a guy who might want to be joining the rest of those Minnesota guys long-term here in Manitoba, which is somewhat close to home.
So along that, Carter, what do you think the number is given the lack of points? Because I agree with everything you've said about him, and I think he's a superstar in the making, like Slavin in Carolina, Jacob Slavin, I should say, all of that. How does the money determine the with the points? Because we saw Evan Bouchard get what he got, and he's not very good defensively, but yet he produces points, right? I get it. It's a league that pays for production, but everybody in the NHL knows how good he is at everything else.
Are you going to see Dylan Samberg give you those booch bombs we saw in the postseason? No. You know what? You might see him score a goal here or there, and when he does, they seem to count. They seem to be important, critical goals for the Jets. But a 6'4", 220-pound lugging defenseman who can skate, those are hard to find. You get rewarded as an individual of that stature, not only from your past experience, not only from the training and efforts you put in the gym, but the production on the ice. So the way that you allot the money, I'm not a GM, I'm not a front office specialist, but I see the kind of guy that this is going to be for the long run, whether it's in Winnipeg, whether it's somewhere else. I like to believe he stays in Winnipeg. I like to believe he stays in Winnipeg long term. You have to take into account free agency and unrestricted years left. But under team control, this guy should be locking up for, like I said, at least 2 years in a couple days, in a few days. Within this week, you'll see a contract for a couple years is my guess. If that doesn't happen, then we're thinking, okay, we're going arbitration. Things could get messy. I think Dylan Samberg knows what he's worth. I think he knows he could command $6.5 million. Is he going to be, like you said, Evan Bouchard scoring those goals? No. He isn't counted on for the points, the production. But we did see an uptick last year. He's up to 20 points. He only played 60 games. He got hurt. He got hurt a couple times. But when you're blocking that many shots that he does, you're playing those penalty kill numbers, that amount of time on the ice, you're going to get hurt. You're bound to get hurt. But he puts in the work. The guy trains like none other. He puts in time in the gym, time outside. He gets in his cardio, and he's, well-deserving of a contract, in my mind, $6 million plus.
And Cam, the Jets, maybe more so than other teams, understand good defensive hockey from their defensemen. Like they've been craving it. They look for it when they find one like that. I agree with what Carter said. Like it's not like somebody's going, oh, they need more points in this organization. I think they know exactly what they have in him.
Dylan Samberg is 26 years old, but you wrote a piece about how the Winnipeg Jets actually got quite a bit older heading into this year with the additions of Gustav Nyquist, of course, with Jonathan Toews. Is that an issue to you, Carter?
It's funny. It's funny you say that, because I wrote that because I found some statistics when perusing Puckpedia. Those guys do a great job, by the way. But I was going through the average ages, and Winnipeg is right on the cusp of that bottom third in the league. However, looking at some of the teams that are right with them, Winnipeg right now is averaging just under 29 years of age, if you look at their active roster from what you project to be the starting roster for this coming season. But right below them, Tampa Bay. Right below that, Washington, Edmonton, Florida, Colorado. They're all averaging 29 and a half, almost 30 years of age. So that part to me is a bit of a silver lining here. But yeah, right now, 28.68 years of age average probably isn't the number you want to be seeing when you bring in guys like Nyquist, who are 35, Toews, who are 37. He'll be 38 come playoffs. Nino Niederreiter's 32, Alex Iafallo 31, Tanner Pearson, another guy you bring in there with that cup experience, of course, mind you, 32 years old. And your top guy here, Scheifele, 32, Lowry, 32, Vilardi, 32. That's just the offense. Sure, you have some young guys in the ranks right now, but right now, Cole Perfetti, who's no longer 20 anymore, he's not 21 anymore, he's 23. So he's getting up there too. Of course, the signing of Vilardi helps at 25 years old to bring that number slightly down. But the median right now, it's a bit high. But again, experience is important. Look at the back end. Shen is 35. Miller's 32. Dylan DeMello, 32. And it goes on. Josh Morrissey and Neil Pionk, they're 30. Neil Pionk will be 30, and JMO already is. So there's getting to be some age there, some experience. The window's starting to close, but I wouldn't panic quite yet.
So what do you make of the rest of the offseason? Of course, the loss of Nick Ehlers, who might fill that role. Toews is here. Where do you see this offseason overall?
I think it goes one of two ways. Either you come into camp and you see Johnny Toews slotted in at that number 2C role, where I think that very well may be the case, or he gets out on the ice a few times and the coaching staff and the players kind of talk and say, maybe he isn't quite, circa 2013 Johnny Toews anymore. Maybe he's not 2015, 2018 Johnny Toews anymore. So he might be a bit slower. People in Winnipeg criticize Blake Wheeler at age 33, at age 34, age 35 for being slow. And he wasn't just a top 6 guy. He was probably your top 3. He was a top-line player, and he was considered slow. Blake Wheeler was the guy you remember back in college or start of his career with Boston, blowing down the wing, putting the head down, and just gunning it towards the net. Toews was never that guy. So he's a little bit behind the pace in that term. But if he doesn't fit in that 2C role, I am very certain you may see the emergence of a guy by the name of Brad Lambert. You very well may see a guy challenging by the name of Braden Yeager. Hey, you never know. I'm throwing it out there. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not trying to criticize Jonathan Toews at all. But when you bring in a guy who's going to be 38 by the end of the season, and you hope he fills that second-line role as best as the guy you had doing it last year, who wasn't quite 38, you might be in a little bit of trouble.
That's my point about, I look, nobody is unhappy with Jonathan Toews coming to play for the Jets, but he's 37. Not. Like, the idea that they tried to woo Ehlers to stay for 6 years with a 37-year-old center is lost on me. The idea that they don't have interest or shouldn't have interest in Mason McTavish or Marco Rossi in those situations with those teams to get a guy that you can control to potentially be a second-line center going forward is not lost on me. Like, I think, and maybe Kevin Cheveldayoff thinks this way, right? I've been fixing the 2C spot for over 10 years, and I don't mind fixing it. Like, I do it every year, and it's okay. I don't know if he thinks that way or not. But I don't see Jonathan Toews being here as you stop looking for that second line center, either internally or externally.
Well, that's what I think. I think it's just Vladislav Nemesnikov was the second line center for the team. They won the President's Trophy last year. They took that step that they were looking to do.
So he might be going, I don't mind fixing this every year to 2 years because I've done a pretty good job of it.
You know what? Vladdy filled that role fantastically. There were times he got cold. But then again, everyone gets cold. Mark Scheifele was cold, and he's your number 1C. There are times players get cold, but you don't want to extend that drought too long. And Vladdy, he probably isn't your prototypical top 6 forward. He's that middle 6 guy, maybe fills in best in the third line spot right now, I would like to say. But he did a great job. Again, he's 32. He's been around. He's played on, I think it was 10 teams at one point now over the course of his career, or 10 different states if you count his 2 different stops in Tampa Bay. But he's had that experience. And right now, when you're looking at this Jets roster, you're seeing a lot more experience. Bringing in Tanner Pearson, that's a Stanley Cup. That's experience. That's a few different teams as well. A few different systems, a few different coaches. These guys have brought in a little bit more in the brain, not just bringing in the feet and the hands, but you're bringing in the brain right now. And according to what we're hearing from Scott Arniel the past year, the brain is probably the most important thing he can develop with these players. So having some age, some experience, some IQ bringing in, I don't see them going too far off the beaten path right now, looking too deep. They're probably set where it's going to be. I don't see much more happening this offseason. Then again, Jack Roslovic could sign tomorrow. You never know. But like we say, I think they're comfortable with where they're at, where we see this second-line center battle shaping out. You very well could see a young guy challenge right now. There could be a final cut, and it could be Braden Yager. It very well could be Brad Lambert. You don't know.
Yeah, though I'm looking at it the same way as you, Carter. I mean, is there a trade there to make this team better? Probably. But I just don't. I don't see the Jets making. What do you think of somebody like Mason McTavish? If there was a big swing, I think it would be somebody for like that. What do you think it would take to bring in somebody like that to this organization?
You know what? I've heard all these thoughts lately percolating online about a guy like Mason McTavish, and you're looking at a 50-point guy right now, 55-point, maybe 60-point guy. That would be very productive as a 22-year-old centerman. Sure. Mason McTavish has given the Anaheim Ducks everything they've asked for. I'm not sold on what the direction the Anaheim Ducks are taking. Are they wanting to get younger? Are they wanting to get older? Do they want experience? What's going on in net? I think they figured out their goaltending situation there. They're changing things on me a little bit. I'm not entirely sold on them. So if the option presents to them a trade that would work for Anaheim, sure. I see it being made on their part. However, it's got to be lucrative. And when I say that, you don't trade a 22-year-old, 6'2", 225-pound centerman, probably a number one centerman at some point in his career, away for, the kitchen sink. You also don't trade him away for scraps down the drain. So you're going to have to say goodbye to Colby Barlow. You're going to have to say goodbye. It might even be an Elias Salamonson. You might have to trade a big guy like that to get a name such as Mason McTavish. And I don't think Winnipeg or Chevy is willing to trade a guy like Elias Salamonson. Right now, Colby Barlow, probably expendable. Nikita Chibrikov, I don't know, maybe expendable too. They like these guys. You know the draft and develop model. They don't want to move these guys. If they're willing to make a deal and land a big guy such as Mason McTavish, sure, they'll trade their picks, no problem. They've traded their picks year after year. But are they willing to get rid of a youngster that's probably developing and hopefully slotting in at this aging roster where there will be availability soon? I'm not so sure.
And to your point, they will wait on a Yager. Like if they think Yager is a year to 2 years away, they're not going to go get a 22-year-old center. They go, we'll make it work with Taves and Nemestikov for a year or two, and then we're set anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it just depends when you think that window closes.
Yeah.
Do you see the Jets there in 4 years when this Braden Yager will be the star of the team? Do you see Brad Lambert being the star of the team in 3 years? Will Mark Stapleton be producing the way he is? Will Kyle Connor be signed in? Will he walk in a year? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's there's so much. Listen, I wish AI could tell us.
No, overlord everything else.
I don't.
Overlord.
I want to see it play out. I do. Yeah.
No, I want to get to the point. Carter Brooks with the Hockey News. Thanks so much, Carter. Appreciate the conversation. Take care. Okay.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Carter. All the best. Game On Magazine and the Hockey News, of course. Great writer, great stuff. What's that Garth Brooks song? I don't want to know. Garth
Brooks.
Looking back.
Oh, in the memory.
The dance. Yeah.
The dance we share.
Yeah. You don't want to know the future, do you?
Above.
If you could know the future right now, if I could tell you.
No, you're right. Thank you.
I went to AI. I know what the Jets are going to do this season. Would you want to know, or would you rather go game one, game two, game three?
I'm not going to sit here and argue with Garth Brooks.
I mean, how do you argue with Garth? You can't. His ego's too big. He won't let you talk.
Let's take a break. Turn this one up there for Che. This is a good one. William says, guys, you know that song, The Dance, was played at the farewell to Jets 1.0. Very emotional. Very emotional afternoon. That one from William.
Oh, that would have been a great place.
I watched it on TV, I remember, as a young kid with my dad. We were just moving back we were living in Seashelton, BC on the Sunshine Coast, moving back to Winnipeg. I was born in Winnipeg, and I remember watching that on TV. And then we all jumped in the wagon and we came back to Winnipeg. So I remember. I don't remember the dance. No, I saw Garth Brooks at the Calgary Stampede.
I've never seen him. I desperately want to.
First time he's ever in front of a band in, I think, 16 years or something like that. He was at the Stampede. It's pretty cool.
I mean, Shameless. Forget about it.
Oh yeah,
that's a great track.
There's lots of good stuff, man.
Oh,
my favorite is Much Too Young to Be This
That's
Damn
my
Old.
favorite.
Well, that's his best one. I think it was one of his first big hits.
This old highway's getting longer.
Oh, that's a good
How
tune.
many times since you've had your firstborn do you feel way too old?
Yeah, that's true, man. And it's, you know what? I love country songs about like rodeo. That's why I like George Strait. I love George Strait.
The rodeo, yeah.
You know
I love
mean?
a good rodeo.
You know, Cheyenne, throw a little Cheyenne on there.
I take all my buddies to the bull riding here, and
a
they're
little
like,
bit of
what is
Amarillo.
this?
Like, oh, God, I love that stuff.
That's a good ride. That's a good ride.
Country songs about the rodeo. Let's give away the VIP text to our good friends at Wash Method, our good friends at Wash Method. This one comes in, no name attached to this texter, but it says, hey guys, love the show. At the end of the trial day, there are no winners in reference to the decision, which is still being read out in regards to the sexual assault case in London, Ontario, involving those 5 Canadian junior hockey players. There are no winners. We have seen a side of everyone involved that is really not admirable, awful on every side, for everybody praying for healing and learning. Thanks so much for sending that text message or our VIP text. Missed your chance to get your thoughts on the show today. Call the Boston Pizza Jets at noon hotline, open 24/7, 204-780-6800. Coming for lunch every weekday to Boston Pizza. Get a delicious main side and ice cold drink for only $15 only at BP. The number one caller tomorrow will be awarded that $50 gift card to Boston Pizza. Really quickly, want to squeeze this in. Former member of the Winnipeg Jets, Nathan Beaulieu, defenseman, has announced his retirement. Played 100-plus games over 3 seasons with the Jets. He was a dependable defensive and penalty-killing depth player. And, Nathan Beaulieu, congratulations on your retirement and your career in the National
And a great
Hockey
interview. Like when we had him on a couple times, he was a great guy to talk about the game and knew his role. I think he's a prime example of a guy who got a lot out of his career, even though, he didn't play a lot. But he was everybody told me on the Jets, he's a total team guy. Like he would be a healthy scratch for games on end and then come in and drop the mitts.
Oh, definitely, man. A lot of respect for Nathan Beaulieu.
Another great tune, Default. Great Canadian band. You know Dallas Smith is a country singer now.
He is. That's where the money is. Jim Toll, take over to 2 o'clock. Thank you very much to Jeffrey Fortier for producing the show. Great job as always. Yep.